Welcome to WitchLit, a place to talk about the craft of writing and writing the craft. I'm your host, Victoria Rashke, author, publisher, witch, and nosy Scorpio. Diego de Oxóssi is a Kimbanda and Orisha priest in Brazil with 12 plus years of magical practice. Diego runs a publishing company dedicated to Afro-American spirituality. With 6 books published in Portuguese and 3 in English, Diego gives counseling with cowrie shell divination and presents lectures and research about pagan and African magical traditions all over the world. Diego, welcome to WitchLit.
Hi, Victoria. Thank you a lot for inviting me to the show. It's an honor to be with you talking about all this African-American and African-Brazilian magic we have to do.
Yes, I'm excited to have you on. And I read Sacred Leaves and I really enjoyed it. So I'm excited to talk to you about the process of that book coming into the world. But the first question we ask everybody is, in this time of podcasts and social media and all that stuff, why write?
Why write? You know that this is something I ask myself almost every day. And the thing is, especially for when we talk about African magic and African Brazilian or African American magic, we must understand and remember that African traditions are based in oral transmission. So a lot of its traditions, a lot of its magic, a lot of its foundations, and a lot of its rituals got lost in time due to this only oral passing of lessons, of teachings and learning. So even though we are in a very digital world nowadays, I strongly believe that we must register this history. We must write out and write down all this history, all these traditions, all these customs, and the way we think when we are inside a temple, the way we work when we are inside a temple, and how we can, and this is something I took as a life motto, if that's the right way to say, to take all inside temple traditions that can become public to all public outside the temple. So to get the word of the Orishas to the world, to get the wisdom of the Orishas known throughout the world. And I think that the only way of keeping those registries, keeping this history for history, is writing it. So that's the main idea. Digital contents are fluid. I guess that would be the best word. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talk a lot on the internet. We talk a lot on social media. We create a lot of contents, but who really listen to us? Who really consume our contents? Once I heard, I guess it was the owner of Facebook or Bill Gates saying something like, "Internet is like a huge park where everybody is talking and no one is listening." And at least the print book, the written word, it will become an object. We'll go to libraries, we'll go to schools, we'll spread this word for more time. I guess that's the idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
create a legacy.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I had not heard that about the party with everybody talking and nobody listening, but boy, is that true. That's a good description. I always describe Twitter as screaming into the void and drinking from the fire hose at the same time.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the most recent book when we're talking is Sacred Leaves, but you have another book coming out later this year. But I kind of wanted to ask you, like, I know you're the first person I've had on the show who's had books translated from the language they were written in. So I really wanted to talk about like the original publishing journey of Sacred Leaves, because it was like a 3-volume set, right? Or 3 volumes in Portuguese, and then translated into English as this 1 volume published with Llewellyn. So can you talk a little bit about like that process of writing and translation? And
yeah, you know that on African Brazilian magic, and especially on African Brazilian religions, we have a saying that says that without leaf there is no God. Without leaf, there is no Orisha. And that's the most amazing truth of these traditions. Because every ritual, from the most basic herbal bath for spiritual cleansing or for protection, to the most complex ritual for initiation or to summon a god or an African god or an African goddess, we must have leaves to do the work, to do the magic. And the whole process of the Sacred Leaves trilogy, as it's called in Brazil in Portuguese edition, it started by it was an organic process. Being a Orisha's priest, people always ask me, "Oh, what can I do for spiritual cleansing? What can I do to protect myself? What can I do to uh, to become more lovable, or any kinds of goals?" And the thing is that for house-made rituals, the most basic ones are the most successful ones. And I used to say, oh, you can do a herbal bath of this or that leaf. You can do burn an incense or burn a fumigation at your house and do something like this. But and we were talking about the social networks and the spread along the internet. And I have my own weblog, my own blog. And right from the beginning, people from my temple, people from other temples, and people from internet used to ask me, what can I do? What can I do? And the thing is that I always said, you can do this or that herbal ritual, basic herbal ritual. And to be honest, it was getting boring. Answering almost the same thing every day, almost the same thing to everyone, because we can't expect people to be able to create much complex rituals at their houses, at their homes. So the main idea was to write down things people could do at their houses, at their work, at their with their families, or in single practices that would be effective, but also would be easier to do. And of course, my religious background is African American magic, so I've tried to put down a simpler way to use Orisha's herbal magic, to use the Orisha's magic foundations and rules to create homemade rituals. And that was the origin of the first volume, The Power of Leaves. So in the Portuguese edition, the Sacred Leaves trilogy is made of the power of leaves, the magic of leaves, and the secret of leaves. The thing is, I didn't have the Arolê Cultural, which is my publishing house in Brazil, the company I ran in Brazil. It didn't even exist yet. When I wrote The Power of Leaves, the first volume of the trilogy, I was an independent author trying to put down little ideas and to spread and to make accessible things that I get on my email, on my blog email, or in social media and social networks communities, asking. Oh, sorry, lost myself in translation. Well, the everyday questions that I received, and once I've published the first volume, and I started to sell it, knocking on doors and say, oh, here's my first book. Oh, yeah, I can give you a recipe. I can give you a simpler answer, but you can take a deeper connection and a deeper learning through my first book. It's available on one or two e-commerces that you can order. We understand that it got missing something, a lot of things actually, because in the first volume, in The Power of Leaves, I've taught how to create your own recipes, how to combine the leaves, how to identify leaves' magical properties and magical aspects. But I've only written about how to do and not what to use. So making a comparison, I like to do this comparison with day-to-day life. In the first volume, once it was published, I understood, and people got feedbacks that, okay, you've spoke about how to do, but how to cook, making this comparison with home life. You teach how to cook, but what about the ingredients?
Mm-hmm.
How can I know what's the power of these or that leaf? And so when I say the whole process of writing the trilogy was an organic process, it's because I've never actually, when I wrote the first volume, I never thought it would become a trilogy. I never thought it would be published in English. I never thought it would take all this. Size is the right word in English. All this dimension, all the dimension that it took now, and so the whole process took me 3 years of writing, but approximately 10 to 12 years of studying and practicing magic and practicing the day-to-day inside the temples. Then first volume was out. Okay, it's selling nicely for a independent author. We had this 1,500 copies sold as an independent author, so it was a huge number for that reality. But people kept asking me, what for example, what does a basil leaf serve for? What's the magic of a rosemary? What's the power of these or that leaf? And that took me to write down the second volume. So now that I teach, now that you learned how to create your recites, you must be independent enough to understand which ingredients you must use. And more than that, you must be independent enough to know how to change one ingredient for another. So if you don't find a basil leaf, if you don't find rosemary, or if you don't find these or that ingredient, how can you exchange one for another without losing the magical goal and the magical effectiveness of the ritual? So, okay, it was the second year of my writer's life. I actually never imagined to being a writer. I come from a 15 years career in IT. I was a software programmer. The whole thing was let's write what I do in my spiritual life. Let's write and let people know what is the 101 magical Orisha's herbal magic. And in the third year, which was I guess it was the first year of the publishing house I run in Brazil, Arole's first years of on commercial market or commercial publishing. I felt I really don't know the right word in English, but I guess it was a strong connection with my past. Because as I said, I came from a 15 years on IT. I've never imagined to be a Orisha's priest. I never imagined to be a writer of mind, body, and soul titles. I've never imagined to be that involved with Orisha's magic. But in my early years, in my teenage years, I used to read about Feng Shui. I used to read about all kinds of mystical and esoterical contents that I could find. And I felt this calling to show people that, yeah, Orisha's herbal magic is a very effective and complete and complex way to use leaves in your rituals to create most powerful rituals that you can do. But you can also transform your day-to-day routines in rituals, in magical rituals. So when you're cooking in your house, when you're choosing a perfume, when you're taking a bath, and a regular bath, when you are even when you're decorating your house, you can awaken some magical power, some magical elements. You can use some magical elements and awaken their powers to really transform your day-to-day routine in magical rituals. And that was the motto for the third volume. So The Secret of Leaves, which is the third volume of the trilogy, leaves Orisha's magic aside and take you from your day to day. So let's look around. Let's take a look on your routine or the most basic things you do, and think a little. How can you enchant your life? How can you create a magical muffin in place of a regular muffin? How can you take a herbal tea and enchant that tea to become a ritual for prosperity or for self-awareness or for anti-stress, or well, any goal you want? So then I written the third volume. It became a huge success in Brazil, especially the trilogy box we've created. The publishing company was ongoing, and we were distributed all over Brazil and everything else. And then I took my first business travel abroad. So I went to London Book Fair. It was 2019. Yeah, 2019. I've decided to visit the London Book Fair, and there I meet people from Llewellyn Worldwide, the editors of Llewellyn Worldwide. And once again, I saw myself in the independent author's character, because I came from a very small publishing company in Brazil. We had about 15 to 18 titles published at that time. And I was in a huge book fair with the biggest editors and biggest publishers all over the world. And I was there, hi Llewellyn, I'm a priest, I'm a Orishas priest from Brazil, and I think I have something that might interest you. And that was when the magic really happened. Because the editor, Bill Cross, which is the editor from Llewellyn, he took me for a coffee, and he said, I showed the three individual books for him, the trilogy books, and he said, Diego, you really have something amazing in your hands, but you've broken it down. You divided it in 3 volumes. We can't work with this in the US. That's not the way books are published in Brazil, in the US. And he said, he looked at me and he said, why do you think we have a huge volume, reorganizing all chapters and making it all a understandable sequence? Because you have gold content in your hands. You just need a magical touch. And I said, well, who's the best to do magical, to do magic, if not Llewellyn? And they really did. They really created an amazing edition that we have Orisha's Herbal Magic, but pure Orisha's Herbal Magic, which is the first volume. We have a deep magical herbal magic dictionary, and we have this feng shui, perfumery, essential oils, esoteric and mystical content. And they've reorganized it, and well, they've done great. Then we got the Sacred Leaves. So the whole idea, the whole process actually was organic until magic happened. And I'm grateful to Lou Cross and to Llewellyn editors that made that happen.
Yeah, that's quite the journey. So what did the translation part look like? Did Llewellyn, I assume Llewellyn did the translation or had that done?
Yeah. Llewellyn did the translation. So I sent them the Portuguese manuscripts. They did all the raw translation. But one thing that how was the word that took me the most, I guess. I'm trying to find a word for it, but what I felt really, they really took care of the work, but they actually gave me the chance to be a part of it. So they've done the first translation and sent me the English file, the English text, to say, Diego, now is the time for you as an author and as a priest to take a look and say if that's your message. So I have the opportunity to really pinch a little parts of the text and says, no, that's not exactly what I was trying to say. That's not. This was a very comfortable work with them, and they've done an amazing job by taking that Leaves dictionary, because we have on the Magic of Leaves, on the Leaves dictionary, we have the common names, the scientific names, and the African magical names of each species. We have 365 species cataloged. So they've done a huge work looking for the English common names for the leaves. So when we have, I like to use basil as an example. Basil in Brazil is called manjericão. So it's a very difficult word to speak in English. And we, until nowadays, we don't know any dictionary that makes this translation from common names from English to Portuguese. So they've done a huge research by the scientific names to find the right common names to be published in English, so that English readers can easily understand which leaf we're talking about, and to find them at their herbalist or in the market near their houses. And they've done a great job.
Yeah, I was impressed with that. That was just, I wondered kind of how that came together, because that is quite the undertaking to have all of that. Especially with the names of plants. I have written books that are set in Slovenia and have had the opportunity to have to translate, like you said, common herbs that, the name in English might be very different than the name in Slovenian. And sometimes they're very similar, but sometimes they're so different. And we had to resort to the scientific name to try and figure out what we were talking about, because there was no way to make that work. There was no dictionary, like you said, that had those words in it the way we needed it. So
yeah, and that was the most basic goal for the book, because the whole idea is that anyone can do Orisha's herbal magic at their houses. So how can I say to, Victoria, now you can do Orisha's magic with an ingredient that you really don't know what it is, because I've kept the original name, or I've only said the magical name. Now, do the work looking for it. No, Llewellyn did an amazing job with that. And by looking for the most accessible name in English for each plant, and it was a huge 365 species, so it was a lot of work. And now they have this amazing edition. I'm really thrilled to have it all over the world now.
It's interesting to talk to you in person, well, via Zoom, after reading the book, because one of the things I noticed in the translation was that it's very conversational. And despite reading in English, like, I feel now like your personality actually came through quite well. And knowing that you partly edited that translation makes sense too. Oh,
I'm so honored to hear that the translation did the work too, because that's I used to say that's my voice when writing. And I have three books in English published, 3 books published in English now. The next one will be released a few days from now, in September. And my idea is that the books do this. You don't read, you talk. It's a conversation, and that was one thing that we actually also struggled with the translation for this next book that's coming out in September. Because we have a lot of what's the word in English? In Portuguese, they are gírias, so slangs. We have a lot of slangs. I use a lot of slangs in this next book that did a lot of sense in Portuguese, and we struggled a lot to find that English slangs that will do the same without losing the enchantment. Let's say the charm, without losing the charm for speaking with the reader. So
I would imagine that's a challenge. I mean, even, like, especially depending on who your translator is. If you have a Portuguese translator who is from Portugal versus a Portuguese translator who's from Brazil, that's going to be a huge difference too, right? I mean, so
yeah, and this is also that something that Llewellyn took care a lot, and they've hired a Brazilian translator to do the job, so it was easier for her to make this translation.
Yeah. Oh, no, that totally makes sense. So you mentioned that you have started your own publishing company. And I noticed that when I did my, internet sleuthing, stalking before I interviewed people. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and about how that happened and what you all publish? And
Yeah, Arole, which is the name of my publishing house, is a publishing house dedicated to mind, body, and soul African American magic titles. So we started it to publish to really register all these African Brazilian traditions. So we started with Umbanda and Candomblé, which are the most known the most known traditions in Brazil, Orisha's traditions in Brazil. And now we have done a few things more. We've published Haitian voodoo. We're publishing Caribbean traditions, Caribbean Black traditions, magical traditions. We're publishing a lot of non-Brazilian but American contents, always trying to spread the word for black people magic. So the idea is to empower these traditions and make them known throughout the world. We have about 40 to 45 titles, published titles now, talking about Orisha's magic, Brazilian black magic, which is an amazing team. We have a magical tradition that was founded in Brazil by a spirit. So in 1952, a spirit embodied and possessed a priestess in southern Brazil, and said, well, I'm founding a new tradition, a new magic tradition that will deal with all kinds of marginals and rascals and I guess rascals is the best word. So we will deal with low level spirits to empower people to take their lives in their own hands and to get their goals going and everything like that. So that's our mission, actually, to spread the word of black magic in the sense of African magic, black people's magic, to spread their word along the world. And truth be told, we're doing fine. Thanks to all the Orishas, we're doing fine because we now have, as I said, we have 40 to 45 books published in Portuguese and about 8 to 10 books sold to U.S. publishers. So we're doing the job. We're getting this word spread around. And one thing that thrills me the most is that we've published a book about Haitian voodoo last year in Portuguese, and it was now sold to Llewellyn too. So Llewellyn will take a Haitian tradition that historically got to the U.S. on New Orleans, on the New Orleans voodoo and Marie Laveau and all that Caribbean / North American tradition, written by a Brazilian priest that is now going to be exported back to the U.S. So that's amazing. We have this cultural exchanging with the work, and well, my company has 5 years now. We started in 2017. And once again, thanks all the Orishas. Now I can dedicate myself to deal with the foreign business. So with the foreign fairs and foreign publishers to deal this Portuguese books to be translated in other languages. And I have my husband that takes care of all the commercial and marketing and commercial stuff for Brazilian market. So that's great.
It's nice to be able to break it up like that too, to have a couple that you can work together. That's huge always. And B, that you can split your time and do that. I mean, we talked a little bit before, and it was like my husband helps with the podcast. He does all the editing and does all the producing and stuff. And then we have a publishing company together too. And we kind of split that work similarly. We're not publishing in foreign places yet, but it is great to have that kind of partnership in your work. I do feel like that is a gift to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's really a gift. And I love common sayings, popular sayings, and there is a saying in Portuguese. I'm not quite sure the right translation for it, but the raw message would be that when you do what you love, when you work with what you love, you really don't have to work for a life. Something like that.
Yeah,
when you
there's a similar one in English, like find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life, or something like that. Yeah,
that's the one.
Yeah, and, no, I'm familiar.
And I guess I'm twice blessed because I work with what I love. I do what I love for working, and I work with my love. So, and I have my husband running the company with me, and of course, just like any business, we must sell, we must have money, we must have profit and things like that. But we're not looking for it. We're actually looking for spreading the word. And the universe always turns back with blessings and successful publishings. And I guess that's the key of magic. And there is, I quite don't remember now which book I say this. I guess it's in the Sacred Leaves, in the third book of the trilogy, and now in the probably in the midst of the English edition, that money is an energy, and just like any energy, it can become a blessing or a blessing or a lost the word.
Curse.
Curse. Thank you. Curse. Yeah. So money is an energy, and it can become a blessing or a curse in our lives. And just like any other energy, we must relate with it. We must deal with it. And if you pass your whole life, I will try to find the right English words for it. Always thinking on Portuguese, sorry. If you chase money, it will run away from you. Just like if you chase anyone else in the street. If you go chasing someone, you will scare that people. He or she will run away from you. But if you go there and say, "Hi, money, how are you? I'm a nice guy and I'm doing my job and I'm taking my life. So what about we have a nice relationship?" Oh, prosperity will come. That's the and that works for everything in life. If someone chases a husband or a wife, someone chases love, they might take finding a love as a life objective, as a life goal, you won't find. If you chase happiness, if you wake up every day and says, "Today I'm going to look for my happiness," you won't, because you're not living. And I guess that's the you know what, Victoria, that's the magic secret for any goal. You don't have to chase anything. You must live. You must focus on today. When people must focus on what they want to do and be and share and live today. You can't pass your whole life regretting what was gone, regretting yesterday, but you also can't live every time looking ahead and expecting for tomorrow, and forgetting to live what you're doing now. That's the key of magic.
Yeah, I like that. And I was thinking too, like what you said about, though you have to make a living at having, the publishing house has to sustain itself, all that stuff. My husband and I have the same conversation. It's like our goal, and it sounds like your goal too, is like our goal in the publishing house is we wanted to publish books we wanted to see in the world.
Exactly.
We wanted to support writers who might not be able to find a place at a traditional publisher and put those books out into the world. And, like we've had some small successes. We're still we started the company right before the pandemic. So not the best time to start a company. So our first couple projects fell through because of stuff related to the pandemic, but we are now seeing things really prosper. And it's kind of been, I think it's like, though you live in a capitalist culture that requires you to make your bread, that doesn't mean that you can't also do those magical things that also brings good things to other people, not just yourself. I think that is important.
Yeah, and I really believe that we are entitled to prosperity. We have a rightful right. It's not the exact.
That works.
Yeah, rightful right. Is that a nice expression? I guess we have a rightful right to be, living Polish words aside, we have a rightful right to become rich. That's not, at least I can speak for myself. I'm not Christian. I'm not looking for an afterlife salvation and giving up for my real life nowadays. I really believe we only live once, and not just like a common saying. I'm not in a very spiritual point of view. We only live once. So you must look for the best you want and the best you can achieve for this life. The thing is, there is no point on being rich or being having a love forced by a spell on your side. So when we're talking about some magical stuff, we know there are a lot of love spells to force someone to be with you. So what's the point of passing some limits to have what you want? We are entitled to be happy. We are entitled to be rich. We're entitled to be healthy. We are entitled to live a love. I guess that's our most lost the word. Sorry. But the thing is, we can't, once again, there is no point on chasing what you want. We must deserve it. We must earn it by looking for the best way to live. And we live in a capitalist world. We must need money. We almost pay to breathe nowadays. So, but we need to leave those I'm sorry to be good aside. I guess that's one of the biggest mistakes people do when looking for even looking for Jesus Christ's teachings. He never said you must be poor. He said you must be humble. And there is a huge difference between being poor and being humble. We must, even for Christians, we must understand the truth behind the Bible sayings, and not getting into, let's suffer on this life, let's give up on all good life can give us now so I can find salvation when I'm dead.
Yeah. It's always been one of those things I've thought about. I mean, I grew up Christian, going to church and things like that. And I never understood the purpose of having beauty in the world if we weren't supposed to enjoy it on some level.
Exactly. So, and you know that as I said in my bio, and as you read in my bio, I'm a Kimbanda priest, which is this black magic tradition founded in Brazil. And every time we talk about black magic, people get, whoa, he works with devil and makes evil spells. And actually, no, the whole philosophical point when I talk about black magic tradition, when I talk about Kimbanda, is to get your lives in your own hands, to to really leave this sinner culture aside. And that's the biggest difference of Kimbanda for other magical traditions we have in Brazil, at least, or not magical, but spiritual traditions we have in Brazil. Most of them are based on this charity / poverty / fake humbleness. So I'll give up of myself now to serve others or to take care of others, as if this would guarantee a salvation after life. But if we take a deeper look at it, people are always looking for something. They are chasing something, and they are they can even give up their comfort and their happiness for this life in exchange for a earning in the next life. And that's the thing that Kimbanda says. Kimbanda says you don't have to wait, because you don't know what's going to be in the other side. You don't know if there's going to be another life or an afterlife. So what about being happy now?
Mm-hmm.
Keeping the respect for others, keeping the respect for yourself, keeping your ethics, keeping your morals, keeping all that things that makes us human and respectable. And that's the sensible point. Keeping the respect and keeping respectable.
Mm-hmm.
You must be happy now. You must achieve your goals now.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the goal of all magic. Because why are we doing magic after all, if not for reaching for our goals, reaching for our desires? And why does a lot of magic rituals never work for a lot of people? Because they're looking for the other. They're trying to dominate or to force other people to do or to be or to become or to come back, or and they forget to do rituals for themselves. They forget to talking about secret leaves. They forget that, okay, you can. I'm not against love spells. Really, I'm not against love spells, but you can't be loved if you don't love yourself before it. So instead of doing a love spell for forcing someone to be with you, what about making some personal rituals, some herbal baths, some fumigation, some incenses to self-love, to self-confidence, to protect yourself against the evil eye or the envy? And what about to protect yourself from yourself?
Yeah.
And this is something that I speak a lot on Afro-Brazilian numerology book that will be released next September. How many of my problems am I responsible for? What choices I made in my life, and what choices I give up making, so I leave. I let life take its own course. But when I don't make a choice, I'm also choosing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not if in English the phrase makes sense, but everything that happens to us is our own responsibility. Of course, I can't take responsibility for someone that comes at me and shot me in the head. Okay, that's the practical thing.
Yeah.
If someone that makes me harm, someone that hurts me in any way, I'm not responsible for the person that hurt me, but I am at the very least, I am responsible of how I suffer with that, how I internalize that suffering, and what do I take from that experience. On a love breakup, for example, I can spend my whole life crying and cursing and suffering for that lost love from 10 years ago. or I can look myself and said and think, okay, it ended. It's not happening anymore. What took us to that point? What took us for the breaking up? And how can I become a better person? Understanding the other people's mistakes, understanding and recognizing my own mistakes. And with all that in hand, how can I use magic not to force someone to do what I want, but to create an environment that allows me to get where I want?
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. So, this is not exactly a follow on that question. I'm going to go back to writing.
Okay.
Kind of a
Okay.
180, but I am thinking about that. But I was just thinking about like with your spiritual and your magical practice and sharing that through writing, like, especially now that you also have the publishing company, like how much of your life is writing and how do those things weave together for you? Because I imagine that's, being a priest, running this company, and also working on your own writing. How do you balance all of those things?
That's a tricky question, actually.
Well, I like to ask writers this question. It is a tricky question.
That's a tricky question because it takes me for that thing we spoke a little right before, that I try not to chase things up. So I got myself thinking about this. I think this year, 2022, I will probably I probably won't release any new book of my own. Of course, we'll have a new releases on our list, the company I run in Brazil, but I probably won't have books of my own because I got myself asking what the public wants to read, what my reader wants to find, and that's not the question. And I think about what can I write to sell, what can I write that will become a success. I'm not fulfilling my mission. I'm not fulfilling my lost the word. Sorry. But yeah, if I'm looking for what will I write that can become a success, I won't be doing what I love. So this year I took kind of a sabbatic year to leave a lot of spiritual experiences, and of course spiritual lessons that we are always learning, so that I can have that click that will tell me, well, this is worth spreading out, So I really don't have a clear answer for what you ask, because I don't think on what I'll write. I guess things happen organically, actually, because the whole idea is that what can I take, what lessons can I share, How can I, not what can I sell, but how can I help other people to transform their own lives? I really don't see myself as a life changer. Actually, I don't see any priest as the responsible for the changing of someone's life. I guess every people must take their own lives in their hands and do the process, and we can only, the priests and priestesses or magic or spiritual leaders or something, we can only be the guiders, there is a Netflix documentary on Robin Williams. No, sorry. That biggest coach. I forgot Robin. No, Robin Williams is the actor. Well, this will be edited after, right?
Yes, we could do some. We could do some editing.
Right? Okay. So. I'll just look for the. Just let me Google it. I'm not your guru, Tony Robbins. So let's go.
Tony Robbins. Okay.
So it got me thinking. I just remember now that Netflix documentary about Tony Robbins' life, hugest super coach, superstar, that's called "I'm Not Your Guru." Mm-hmm. I'm not your guru. I said it right, guru. Yeah. Guru. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm not your guru.
Well, at least that's how we pronounce it in English. It may be different in Hindi, but that's how we say it in English.
And that's the thing. He is a superstar life coach that people take as a role model, and people take as almost a spiritual guru that will transform their lives and never. And well, he's a. Can I say a bad word?
Yes, we have an explicit rating. You can't say a bad word.
The fucking superstar on life coaching, and he puts, I guess, 10,000 people in an event, in a coaching event every year. And the thing is, he says, "I'm not going to change your life. You will. I'll just show you the way. I'll just take you there." And that's one of my writer's reflections. I really don't have a writing process. I really don't have a writing goal, you know. Mm. I can't betray myself. I can write for the money. I want and I will earn money for what I'm writing. But it can look, sometimes it can look just a word tricking, you know, you're just a gimmicky play with words, but that's a truth behind it. Mm. And talking about writing process, all of my books, I guess, it took me, I don't know, 3 to 4 weeks to write it down. To sit on my computer and type all things. It took me not more than 4 weeks to do so. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, how many times it took me to think about all that content and to leave all that content. I can't write something that I haven't lived. Right. I can't write something that I haven't experienced. You know, that doesn't make sense in my life, and it make me think about something someone actually I've met around 5 to 6 years ago. I didn't have the publishing company yet, so it must be more than that. I guess 7 to 8 years. A girl that came to a spiritual in an oracle session with me, and she was looking for the love of her life. The goal of her life was to find a man and to find a husband and to have love. We did a few spells for her, and etc. And you know what surprised me the most at that time? She came for the readings, for the oracle readings, with a very explicit objective, with a very explicit goal. She wanted love. She was looking for love. She was looking for a guy, and she was a love coach for a living. She actually had some Find Your Love, blah, blah, blah books published.
Wow.
And it got me thinking, well, what's happening? How can you sell to others a let's find your love, I'll guide you to the love of your life, coaching lessons, if you don't even find a love for yourself, you know? And, well, who am I to judge that? But I can't do that.
It is kind of eye-opening. Yeah. It is eye-opening, yeah. I don't know. I hesitate to even say this because I don't like to invoke the ire of the gods, I guess. But my husband and I have been together for 20 years, and people are like, you guys should write a book. And I was like, absolutely not. That's how you invite bad things to happen.
Exactly.
Like, no, we won't do that. But I appreciate it, but no.
Yeah, keep your love behind. Keep your winnings hidden.
Yeah, I don't know that it's a secret. I don't know. I don't think it's a great secret. I think we just found the right person. We'd both been married before. Yeah, the whole thing. But yeah, that I find that surprising that would be your living, and then also you haven't been able to have that. But I don't know. Maybe it's also like, what is it? The cobbler's children don't have shoes. When you do it for a living, you can't do it for yourself, kind of thing. So who knows? But since you said that about, not being a guru and not expecting to change people's lives, what do you hope readers take away from your books? Like, what do you hope they do take away or walk away from these books with?
What I really hope they take from the books is if I could resume that in one phrase, is that magic exists, but magic won't do the work if you are not willing to do the work. Mm-hmm. That's the I guess that's the biggest secret, and that's the biggest message. You can put all magical ingredients together and summon all gods and goddesses that exist in the world and find that, oh, how ancient magical recipe with a golden sigil and everything like that. But it's not Harry Potter, Things won't just appear in front of you. Magic will make things happen in your reality. Mm-hmm. And magic will make reality come true, but you must be willing to pay the price. That's the thing. And what I always try to put on my books, that thing of the writer's voice that we spoke about, and that chit chat that I try to do with the way I write, is to take readers to my own life. Mm-hmm. Look, I've lived that. I lived that. I experienced that. So at least I don't want to become a guru, but I want to show that the Orisha's magic and Eshu's magic and Kimbanda's magic can help you to transform your own life. I'm very proud to say, Victoria, I'm very proud to say I'm a very, very, very happy man. I am. My shrink actually argues with me every session we have, because she says, every time you come to a session, you said, oh, my life is good. I don't have anything to complain. So how can I treat you? How can I help you with with the session? And it says, yeah, but actually, of course, I have daily issues to deal with. Mm-hmm. I have work problems. I have, a lot of things that every person have. But magic helped me to understand that these daily issues and these daily struggles and these challenges, these life challenges, won't defeat me. Mm-hmm. And at least if I can show through my books, especially through Orisha's herbal magic and African numerology together, if we could take all those books together in a whole life lessons, Orisha's life lessons, this will be the main message. Life is good, mm-hmm. but we must look for it.
Yeah,
I can't expect to a prosperity spell to work if I spend my whole day saying bad words and thinking of poverty and using I really miss the English expression that I'm looking for, but I can expect prosperity rituals, prosperity spells to work if I don't think prosper. if I don't really believe that I am what I am looking for, that I can achieve, if I can't see myself where I want to be, how can I expect for something invisible to take me there? And that was one of the translation struggle we found we had in African numerology book, because in Alice in Wonderland Portuguese edition, there is a saying that is not in the original one, and I just find that out we just find that out while translating African numerology to English from Portuguese to English, and people at the publisher they do a deep research on bibliographic references and there's credits and everything like that. And there is a saying in the Portuguese edition that was supposed to be a Lewis Carroll saying in Alice in Wonderland, and they got back to me while the translation was going on, and they said, actually this phrase is not in the book. They said, yes, it is. I have the book in my hands. It is. And they said, no, actually, it's not in the original English text. Yeah, so that was, of course, from Alice in Wonderland in English to Portuguese translation. There are a few adaptations and, things that got messed up. And the Portuguese version, in the Portuguese version of Alice in Wonderland, there is a phrase that says, if you don't know where you're going, any road will do. That's the phrase. And they said, actually, that's not what's in the original, but it serves the purpose. So we took the Lewis Carroll credit for the phrase.
And just left the phrase.
Let's keep the phrase because that's the whole point, Magic exists. So what do I want readers to get from the books? Magic works. Magic exists. But if you don't know where you're going, any road will do.
Right.
So you must take your life in your own hands. You must be grown enough to be able to look at yourself at the mirror and says, I've done a mistake. I'm wrong. But I am willing to fix that, especially with ourselves.
Yeah.
And self-responsibility is my life keyword, and that's what I most expect people to get from the books. Take self-responsibility for your life. And once you did that, once you've done that, use magic to achieve your goals. Don't try to use magic to fix others. You can't. You can only fix yourself.
Yeah.
And once you fix yourself, I can speak for me. You can be fucking happy. You can be, life can be fucking good.
Yeah. No, that's a great way to think about it. I mean, I think that's advice across life in general, whether you do magic or not. But before we get to our last question, I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about stuff you might have coming up. Like I said, this will air later in the fall. And then where people can find you.
Well, people can find me. The best way to find me is through Instagram. So you can find me at Diego de Oxóssi. Oxóssi, it's a X word. So Diego de Oxossi. Oxóssi. And well, if you don't know how to spell it, Google Sacred Leaves. I'm the author. Check the spelling, and you can find me on Instagram. People can always find me in my website too. So www.diegodeoxossi.com.br. That's the best way to talk with me, to reach me. We have a few nice things coming up for this year and the next one. So we are now recording in August, but we'll be live on November. So when you hearing us, it will probably have been released my newest book in English, African Brazilian Numerology by Inner Traditions Publishing. It's a complete course, a complete course, I guess, about how to do the math for African numerology, how to do the math, create the numerology maps, the birth charts, and how to interpret. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
How to interpret the Odus, which is the African destiny roads, how to interpret the Odus in your birth chart. But it's also a huge book, an amazing book, as a tool for self-transformation. So all this, what do I want my readers to get from the book? Is there in African Brazilian Numerology book. It's being released next September. Get that on Amazon, on Barnes and Nobles, on your favorite bookshop. You'll have the hands-on course on how to do African numerology, and the last half of the book is a self-transformation tool that will guide you through this self-responsibility process. Go there. If you like black magic, spirits, magic, hands-on dark side spells, there is an amazing book released last year, actually, by Inner Traditions too. It's called Traditional Brazilian Black Magic, where I talk all the secrets on Kimbanda and Exu and Pombagira. But the most practical book, the most practical content you can find to turn your life, to turn your day-to-day into magic rituals is Sacred Leaves by Llewellyn. And we'll have in the book, you can, there is a free ebook downloadable, a free online course. So you get the book, you do the sign up on the website, and you get a free online course on herbal magic, on Orisha's herbal magic. So go for it. Next year, March 23, we have the Orisha's card deck, the Orisha's Magic Card Oracle coming up by Rockpool Publishing Australia. It's been released. It's an Australian publisher, but it's going to be released worldwide. So if you want to have the Orisha's advices and the Orisha's word in your day-to-day, you can do the Oracle, turn the cards on the Oracle and get the Orisha's messages for your daily life. And, well, reach me on Instagram, Diego de Oxóssi. In the website, we'll have some Orisha's herbal witchcraft and Kimbanda workshops for foreigners in Brazil. We're now just finishing a huge renovation at the temple to host people there, to get a hands-on live events. So probably February to April 23, we'll have the Kimbanda and the herbal magic workshops for foreigners. If you have the chance to come to Brazil, come meet us and let's make magic together.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so our last question is a little bit of a game of chance. I'm going to roll a die, and we're going. One of the topic will be one of those things we're not supposed to talk about, but for witches and magic users, we talk about them. So, depending on what I roll, 1 through 6, death, sex, religion, politics, or money. We've kind of talked about all of those.
Okay.
And if I roll a 6, you get to pick which one you want.
Okay.
So, 3, religion.
Religion.
And we touch on this a little bit, so we'll go a little deeper on this question. So you talked about like this perception of black magic, that people have this idea that it is only evil and only dark. And I think in English, the word gets a little bit of a disservice because there's this idea of black versus white magic, but also African magic or African-American traditions of magic. So what do you think culturally, like when you think about like mainstream culture, what does it get absolutely wrong about black magic?
Oh. What does it get absolutely wrong on the cultural perception?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think there's probably a lot, but I'm kind of curious on your perspective.
I guess the simplest, the better. And the answer would be that black magic only does harm.
Mm-hmm.
And only is the keyword in the answer, because what I think is that any religious tradition, any spiritual tradition, any cultural tradition, any tradition in the world is good. People do bad, people do harm,
Mm-hmm.
and we can look for in them. I'll be very tricky here. I'll use I'll get uh, your dice to three mingles four and speak a
In
little bit about
politics, too.
politics. Yeah, because I have a few friends that are Muslims, for example, and I know that when we talk about Muslims to U.S. citizens, it gets very tricky due to September 11 and all that terrific, not terrific, those tragic. Lost myself in English here. Sorry, people who are hearing us. Those tragic things that happened on September 11. But Muslims don't do bad. ISIS do. You know, people do harm, and that's the most wrong point of view about black magic. Black magic is all about getting to know yourself, getting to know what you want, and doing and using all the tools you have to achieve your personal goals.
Mm-hmm.
Black magic traditions are selfish traditions, and I'm not sorry to say they are right in that point of view. Because if you don't take care of yourself, who's gonna do? Right. If you don't look for yourself, who's gonna do? Mm-hmm. And if you spend your whole life giving up of your own life to take care of others, to look for the others, who's gonna look for you? And that's the key point, you know. Mm-hmm. Black magic is all about doing what you will, doing what pleasures you, searching for, and using the magical tools you have for that. Mm-hmm. So black magic does harm. Yes, there are a lot of spells that can do harm, but people do harm, and they don't even need magic for it. So that's the.
I think that right there.
The devil is not always bad, you know.
Yeah, I think that right there is that people do harm, and they don't need magic to do it. Exactly. I mean, I think that right there that's key. I will say, you know, growing up, like I said, you know, my house wasn't particularly religious, but I went to church a lot as a kid. I was a seeker person, you know, I was trying to find the answers to things. And so I did definitely, when I first came to magic, have this very like, I don't do those things. You know, that's a whole separate thing. I won't talk about it. I don't want to know about it, whatever. And then, like you said, once you really look at it, I like what you said about it is selfish, is that we have this idea that doing something for yourself is in itself a bad thing. But it's not. I mean, and the very cliche thing is you put your oxygen mask on first, right? So you can help someone put theirs on. And it's cliche, but it's true. It's like you will pass out if you don't put yours on first. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Magic is just like a airplane crashes.
Yes. Can be, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Well, I love that we ended on this very upbeat, interesting take on things. And I so appreciate you coming on the show. And I especially appreciate you doing an interview in English, which I know is not your first language, which is a challenge. And I really appreciate your time and your effort to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you a lot, Victoria. I'm very honored to be with you in the show and that we can speak not only about the books and not only about magic, but about life. You know, that's the biggest message that is behind all those texts. So thank you a lot for the opportunity, and I wish we can meet up together once again.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
WitchLit is a production of Thousand Volt Press and is edited by Kaifel Agostini. Our music is Voices by Alexander Shenekar. You can support our work at ko-fi.com/witchlitpodcast. And if you'd like to submit your own death, sex, religion, politics, or money questions, or have questions or comments about the show, you can send an email to victoria@witchlitpod.com. And please be sure to let us know if we can use your name on the show. Transcripts and all our previous episodes are available at witchlitpod.com, and you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter @witchlitpod. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and consider giving us a rating or review wherever you listen to podcasts. It helps other witches find the show. Thanks for listening and for reading witchy.